Okay, so I guess just tell us your name and any like essential biographical information. So maybe where you're from and where you are now, and maybe what sort of work you make, and then I guess also our like opening question for everyone is kind of like what space you make work in now, or what your studio is like, which you're in.
Okay, currently, right? And then like what my studio was like previously before this one, or just like what it is now. Okay.
I think both would be interesting. I think.
All right. Cool. Yeah, because I've been thinking about that, so I will tell you about that. Okay. Let me know when I should start.
Go.
Hi. Hi, my name is Marisa LaGuardia, and I am in the painting program at University of Texas, Austin. I'm a second-year grad student, and I'm originally from Youngstown, Ohio, and I went to undergrad at the Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore, and then I lived there for about 2 years, and then I applied to UT, and I got in, and now I'm here making work in my studio, which we're currently in. So if you want, I can show you around.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, cool. So luckily, I'm in a program that has very generous space opportunities. Last semester I had a space that was a little bit larger, but there weren't windows, so I was very interested in a window as a way to sort of think about how I am in the space and like how that affects my psychological way of working, because that is something that I realize that I need. I need to have like some sort of evidence that the outside exists. But what is this? And when I lived in Baltimore, after I graduated from undergrad, I had a chance to work in a space that a friend of mine had purchased. It was called Platform Gallery. And so she had a gallery space at the first floor, and then the area above that was studio spaces. So it used to be an old law firm that she repurposed, and so the offices were the studio spaces. And so I was there for a while, and I definitely had a much smaller space, and it was sort of in the corner of this room that was divided in half. So I made smaller work to sort of like get around that, but it was something that I knew I needed, and I made sure that I worked enough to be able to afford a studio space. And then I also had an internship, museum education internship at Mass MoCA, sort of during that same time in between undergrad and grad. And so I didn't have any studio space at all. And that was really difficult for me because I was in this enormous building that had all this space, and I wasn't able to have a studio.
Wait, when you did the Mass MoCA thing, that doesn't come with studio space? It's just like working there? Oh,
yeah, so it's separate because a lot of the interns it's frustrating. And I was they didn't really say that at all on the application. Like if you would have a studio space or not.
You lived there, right, while you're doing it?
Yeah, I lived there for about 5 months. And all the interns lived in one big old house, and it was amazing, actually. But it was nice too because it was, the people that worked there were really great, and there was a good sense of community within just the whole place. So I was pretty close with the security guards actually there, and we kind of like worked out a deal to use a space that was already purchased, but they was like in transition. It was like office space because they have like, I think, commercial spaces that they rent out to, just I think for financial reasons, to separate companies. Like was in that space, so we used it temporarily. So we like moved in there, and like we got, we figured out a way to do it. So it was like a couple, awesome. Maybe there was like 3 other people that I worked with. We were like, we want to do this.
And that was like in between undergrad and applying to school here.
Correct. And then after that internship, I moved back to Baltimore. Okay. And that's when I had the space again. I moved to a different form. And then I came here larger. I was I mean, that was the thing that I had a lot of room to move around. Yeah.
Cool. I guess maybe do you want to tell me a little bit about your process and kind of like maybe how you know that something is finished or how you finish them or at what
Question of the I was just talking to my mom before I came here. I was just making oil paintings, and they were, you know, they were small. Sometimes they were big, but they were pretty standard in terms of like making goes. And so now I'm really starting to explore new materials, and so the way that
Oh, you're frozen.
am I frozen?
You're back.
Do you need me to say anything again?
Maybe that last sentence.
So, yeah. So, I said that the way that I think about certain first things that I did as a young art person was just draw, and I feel like it's really important and very immediate. And sometimes, you know, when you have like an idea and it's like chewing at you, just like I feel like I need to just grab anything within my reach. And so that's also another process. So like drawing helps me visualize the thing, but I've also started accumulating different kind of like ways to generate visual imagery that's not just through drawing. So I've been doing a lot of writing and sort of doing some, I would say like descriptive, selective poetry in a way. So like I pay attention or anything like that, but it's like a description that's also like art conscious in a way that I also, so I take from those and I compile them into a separate sort of being. But I'm also really excited just about like how I am as a filter. Like I think about myself as a sieve, and I am just like sort of taking information because when I TA, I talk to my students about the importance of working from life because you have all the information that you could need right in front of you, and you are the person that's filtering it. I mean, you know, and if you're trying to look for a photograph, information, but that loss of information, and then how relationships are formed through combined visual cues that might be from other places to see how that conversation happens. And so right now I'm still making stretched canvas over here that is just existing. Is really beautiful painting palette table that has wheels, and it's so gorgeous, and it's the whole here, you know what I mean?
This is made for me.
It's mine, and I have it. It's crystal clean, like as clean as a crystal can be. Yeah. But
just being in a place that you have access to like different facilities and things, and like trying to take advantage of that.
That's part of the reason, for sure. And I think what I happened upon, but now that I'm in school, I'm spending a lot more time inside. So I'm figuring out different ways to generate imagery because it's like I'm just not going outside as much. And so it's actually, I'm also really excited about the shift between like looking externally and then looking internally. So the color is intuitive, and it's like, okay, well, that's sure, but it's a very important aspect of when I decide something is finished, for instance, when you ask that. And just in terms of like the actual space of like how far away it's perceived, and the illusion of space and breaking down forms just enough to evoke a sense of perspective or atmosphere or something, and just using like as little information as possible. So that's what I'm actually working on right now. I'm sort of making these spaces, and I'm thinking about like outer space also, and like alternate or enter, but it's so like it can be rendered so beautifully that you are convinced that it's real, but it's still not. So it's like sort of like a faker, which I really like.
It's like so using like reduction as a means to kind of like funnel and then like have it like expand like on the other side or something.
Moving out of flat town, but it's still going to be flat. You'll see. I'm working on it, but I have a long way to go before it gets completed. But yeah,
is that kind of like what you're thinking for like thesis stuff?
I think so. I sort of had in mind some sort of installation, even when I get here, or even when I got here, I was like, I think I might maybe want to do something that's like a little bit more ambitious in terms of like how I deal with the space. but I have to figure out the best way to do that, and I have to figure out if that's still a necessary thing for me to explore in this way, and if I still need to make 2D work, then I'll do it. But also just listening to like what I need and how I want to say it, and things like that are also super important. So just like trusting yourself and like trusting, like establishing like a sense of trust within like the logic of the work too. So like thinking about if there's gravity in there and like how does the gravity work, and like instead of like things getting bluer in the distance, maybe they get green or red or purple, and like that's how this is. So I'm like world building in a way.
Do you feel like it, because that's super interesting, because that's something that I actually like I'm thinking about a lot in the conversations that I'm having with my students, and I especially like when we're having crits, I like talk to them a lot about trust. Like every move that you're making is like intentional, so that then I like, because I'm a sculptor and I'm teaching sculpture students, I like always think about it in terms of like material, and it feels like sort of in a lot of ways like you have to like end it if you don't also do something to like instill some sort of trust that you're like making that gesture like really intentionally. But I like hadn't thought about that that equivalent gesture in like image making, like in the way that you're kind of like world building and kind of like trying to be true to like the logic of the.
I think so that's something I am thinking about, and also like intention and confidence are also like a really important thing in my work, and that's why I feel like, I don't know if it's because I'm just comfortable working 2-dimensionally, and so I feel like I can get there faster. And so, you know, I think
like making really assertive or like confident decisions.
Yeah. And I think like, because I TA'd one class in my undergrad, and it was like an abstract painting course, and I was with grad student at the time. It was a show, and he would have to like, it would sort of be like practice thinking about curating. So he would have them curate this exhibition, and then they would leave for lunch, and then while they were at lunch, the three of us would go around and we would grade the work, and and my professor would like average our grades, and that would be their grade.
Like
the three of us, but we would almost always agree on confidence. It's like, like if you even make like a super provisional, I want this, then like that's it, you know, that's all you need. But like getting there and being confident enough to like understand that point that's the trick, you know?
Yeah, I think teaching this semester has like made me also think like a ton about like what it means for something to be good. Or like like earlier this afternoon in our grade students, and you're like, what is this, an A? Is it like what does that even mean to like I think the question of like what does it mean for something to be good is like so hard and complicated.
Good question. There's so many like star
with intention and like effort, which is like a silly thing, but like I think just like, or like the amount that you kind of try to embed into the thing on your own.
And I'm also like, really excited about
just like how much like if something is like thought through, even if it's a quick gesture, I feel like
and like something I always and I actually overheard this conversation, so I wasn't even in the critique. It's like it took you your whole life lingo of anything, and so she's always so surprised that it takes me, you know, maybe like 45 minutes to, because she asked me, oh, can you draw something? It's pretty great.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting to think about, and also to like, I think a lot about how much of that is like accessible to like the people that are looking at things, and Michael and I were just like having a conversation about like looking at someone's work and like not paying super close attention to it upon like just first time encountering it, and then getting to know that person better and like seeing the same thing again and like feeling totally differently about it, and like but how to make a thing that like does that without you having to like I love all of my friends' work so much just because I like that all of my friends so much, and it just like inherently makes me like love all of their work, but like how to like make a thing that can communicate that kind of like depth of being without being intimately familiar with the being that made the thing. Like I feel like that's like the struggle.
I love to make things difficult for myself.
I feel like there's
the way
like
that I live.
a part, there's like doing it like really seriously, or those of us that are just like, well, this is what we're doing, that we're all kind of like secretly masochists, or like just kind of quietly torturing ourselves.
Well, I'm gonna go to grad school now. This is too easy. Let me just mix things up a little bit, like. And so here I am, and I knew what I need to go and challenge myself.
It felt, or like how do you feel like you made the decision that you were like, and I was like, I need to get the fuck out of this, like I need to like do something, and felt really like I didn't have a super strong art community where I was living in between undergrad and grad school, and so I was like, I like need to be around other artists and have space to make work. But if you were feeling like you had like figured it out and were feeling comfortable, like what do you think like made you make the decision to go?
I thought I wanted to be a museum educator for a little bit. Like I had a job previously where I was working as a tour guide in Potomac, Maryland, at a privately owned just like personal collection that was like a museum that was on the owner's property. So I was like giving tours of this person's collection, and I thought it was like really interesting and very exciting.
Oh, you're frozen.
The art and am I frozen? Okay, I'm not frozen anymore.
You're back.
Also, my computer had 31% left, and I didn't bring my charger.
Ah!
So I know, living on the edge all the time, just being difficult. But yeah, so I was working as this tour guide, and I was interested in like being the middle person between art and audience, and because I think contemporary art is looking at anything all the time, so I think it's helpful in terms of about art, and that's. But I didn't love it, and it wasn't something that I was like truly passionate about. And not having a studio actually really helped me realize that I wanted to be in a space to really dedicate my time to my practice, and just to be a little selfish and say, you know what, there are things that I still need to learn, and I need to be in another environment maybe one more time to really get things going, because I felt like also at the end of undergrad I was like sort of getting it, but it took me a long way to get there. And I miss my community too. Like you were saying, I really had a strong wanted to continue that, because I think I do consider myself a pretty social person, and I get a lot of energy from being around people, and I was missing that. So I wanted to for individuals that are, you know, pretty passionate or maybe not passionate, and maybe I can help them a lot.
I'm so bad at the like staying on schedule. Okay, we'll do.
Ooh. After a dog, I mean that's very silly. But in terms of like materials, I used to
combination.
Huh?
That's a good combination.
Yeah, I had like feather collection with me, and he had like a Nerf gun, but he had like there was a Nerf gun that shot like these foam balls, and I would like take them and like have like a little group of them with me, and I would like just have them like as my little pets, because I only had fish growing up, like I didn't have any animals. So these are them, and so I just remember like holding them and just like it was weird. So I had like feathers, rocks. I like had little weird collections that I would just like tinker around with all the time.
Like
I like touching plants. Although I think you helped me understand my. Yeah, I will. I have some good ones. You'd be proud. But yeah, also working in a museum has totally shifted the way that I interact with things. I touch this thing, or you know, sometimes I say I want to touch it, and I also pick up like a fourth relationship, if you will.
Complicated relationship. All the best relationships are complicated.
So I have many favorite things. I guess I can't say one thing.
It's a hard question. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For thinking of me, and thank you for being my friend.
Yeah.
Yay. And good luck with everything.
Thanks. I'll send you the link. Goodbye.
Bye. Mwah.